G'day, Sean here from ARRI, and today we're going to talk all about SUP 4.0 for the Trinity 2 and the Trinity 2 pan-axis. But as I'm no expert on the matter, I have two very knowledgeable people here to help out. The first is Alex Voigt from FOMA Systems, and the second is Leon Moralic, who is a Trinity 2 owner-operator and head of the CSS forum. All right, let's get into it. So in SUP 4.0 for the Trinity 2 and the Trinity 2 pan-axis, we're making some pretty significant changes to how it feels to operate a Trinity as an operator. And so we have Alex here to explain all the firmware stuff and the process behind designing that. And we have Leon here who will do some practical demonstrations throughout this video showing you the effect basically of the new modes. Now, this video will be broken up into a bunch of chapters, so feel free to skip ahead if you need a refresher on a particular part. But we're going to start now with the 5 Trinity modes, which you can toggle on the fly to change the behavior of the Trinity to better suit different kinds of operating. So Alex, maybe you could explain a little bit about why the decision was made to design the new firmware with these modes that didn't happen before.
In the last 3 years, we used the feedback from our customers to better understand how they use the Trinity and the equipment and their applications. And we found with them together that sometimes it's difficult to tune and adjust the Trinity 100% the right way to get the shot perfectly. Then we thought how to improve this procedure. And we had the idea to create 5 modes for each application, which are in a special kind of way set up to really deliver the shot with the best performance they can expect.
Okay, so instead of having one group of settings, we now have settings designed for Trinity, ARTEMIS, Top Shot, and 2 different kinds of sideways operation. Exactly. Cool. And Leon, you've had the opportunity to test this quite extensively now. Do you want to talk about your experience?
Absolutely. I had the chance now of the last weekend on a really difficult shooting for 2 days to test the new 4.0 beta, but I think that's the release candidate definitely. And I was really, really happy with that. And it's really amazing software. So especially the 5 different modes give us now much of possibilities. So when you're in Trinity mode, you can now change the mode really quick in ARTEMIS mode and a Top Shot mode, what gives you the possibility while you're operating, change the modes and so make stuff easier. So in the past, it was sometimes really difficult to make a straight shot or straight walking without the snailing effect with the Trinity. Now I can, while operating, just change in the ARTEMIS mode and avoid this problem. So it's really amazing. It's definitely a huge upgrade for our Trinities. So
I think now while we get you to demonstrate, Alex will be on the RCP. And please bear in mind that obviously everything that we're changing on the RCP so that you can see it happening, you can also just toggle with the Trinity Master Grip on your hand while you're operating.
Yes.
All right, should we start with the Trinity mode?
Absolutely.
Cool.
This is our new interface design. Now, in the profile overview, you can find a button on the right, which changes the design into a simple mode. After changing into a simple mode, you will find on the left 5 new buttons with 5 modes which will make your life on set easier. The first mode is the Trinity mode. Leon, please present us the Trinity mode.
Yes. The Trinity mode is pretty the same that we know from the past, but there's a really cool new feature that I personally really like it. So we know that we can, with the Trinity 2, look around the corner with just rotating the post. But in the past, you have to be in this 45-degree angle with your rig, but now you can do it nearly on 0 degrees, which is really amazing. That means we can do this now in really tight spaces, and that's really, really, really awesome.
The second mode is the ARTEMIS mode. The ARTEMIS mode locks the tilt motors. I can change here on the screen to the ARTEMIS mode, but have in mind you also can assign any button on the master grip and change to ARTEMIS mode on the fly. Leon?
Yes. What ARTEMIS mode mean, it's now that we have changed from Trinity mode to a simple stabilizer mode. But it's not so simple, so that gives us the possibility to act like a regular stabilizer, but have already a stabilized roll axis. But also we are able to tilt while operating, which is really cool. So we can do really steep over shoulders and other stuff. So that's really, 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 really cool. So, and that's it.
Mode 3 is a brand new feature in the Trinity 2 software. It's called top-down. This mode allows the operator to let roll follow the movement or stabilize in a top shot position. Leon?
Yes. For this, let me switch back to the Trinity mode and show the difference. So now, when I'm rotating around the object, you see the camera follows my movement. And when activating the top-down mode, you see the camera stays on position. That means also now, if you have as operator some issues following a straight line in a top-down, in this mode, it's much easier. That's cool.
Mode 4 and 5 are for sideways operating the rig, if you want to use the Trinity as a one-axis stabilizer. To do this, you switch first off the tilt motor. Then you apply the mechanically tilt lock. And then we switch to side 1.
So, first of all, just to explain a little bit the difference between sideways operating and the regular Trinity mode. So the Trinity, it's a two-axis device, so two-axis stabilized two-axis device. And other systems that have only one axis, they are only able to do only sideways movements. So the cool thing with the Trinity is that it's such a flexible tool that you can do both. So you can do the javelin operating like a Trinity, but you can also switch to the sideways. So you are really flexible for your production or for the DP. So that's also the reason why a lot of DPs are loving to use the Trinity 2. So they are really flexible in the modes. So the side 1, it's a kind of high dynamic mode. So you see the system, it's high reactive and really fast. And gives us a lot of possibilities with sideways operating. So you can, Alex, you can sit down, we can show something. You can see we can do really, really, really cool typical sideways movements that with the regular Trinity are not possible. You see, I'm controlling the roll speed, so with my movement of the post. And to show now the difference between the side 1 and side 2, and for this I will go back in the Trinity mode. So I'm powering tilt motor on again and lose the lock. So I'm now back in the Trinity. In this case I will leave the pendulum locked. And we will show you now a possible way to operate in this kind of mode. So thank you, Alex.
Yep.
So I'm now regular Trinity. I'm going inside a car. And I use now this cool new feature with looking sideways. I'm engaging now the side 2. Now I can tilt up and down. And I can engage again the Trinity mode, and I can leave the car. I think that's really impressive, so I like it.
In SUP 4, we implemented a roll calibration, which allows the operator to achieve a higher precision on automated roll movements. This calibration is in menu head calibration. Then you will find roll scale calibration. To start this calibration, the Trinity just must be docked in the bracket, tilt and roll motor are switched on. Then we start our calibration. Now the Trinity is performing the roll calibration. If it's done, we can perform higher precision roll movements.
And also now there's a new safety feature. So when the cable is maybe stuck somewhere here and we go in a roll, and you see after a couple of seconds the whole system shuts down. So it's a really good safety feature. So you see it on the RCP. Please switch to off the head. We're engaging your head back and we are back in game. So it's a really nice safety feature to save fingers and cables.
Now, we'd like to talk a little bit about power management. In the new software update for the Trinity, we've changed the way that the power management works to make sure that it is really balanced between the power that's getting delivered to the camera and to the head, which will make the system more reliable, and Leon can speak to that in a second. I just wanted to go over a couple of things about battery choice, because the batteries that you choose for the Trinity will have a huge effect on how reliable it is. Now, the first little point is about B-mount. We introduced B-mount with the Alexa 35 as a native 24-volt battery solution, which means that it can basically supply twice the amount of power. So if you are having any troubles and you have the opportunity to choose B-mount, then I highly recommend that you do. And I have a good example as to why it can provide more power. Here in this little top shot, we have a V-mount battery and a B-mount battery. And a gold mount battery would kind of be similar to this example here, where you can see that the pins here are actually quite small, especially compared to these bigger pins available in B-mount. And that is an indication that B-mount was designed to provide 24-volt power at 20 amps of current draw. V-mount and gold mount, on the other hand, have much lower current outputs and they're 12 volts. So what can you do about this? Well, choose B-mount if you can, but we totally understand that that is not always an option. Second is to look at the stickers on the battery and see what the maximum current output rating is, because you will find 12-volt batteries in particular that only support up to 8 amps of current draw, which is going to be about a quarter of the rating of this single B-mount battery. So making sure that you have good batteries is really important, and obviously understanding all of the power requirements for your rig, not just the Trinity, but all the accessories and the camera that's there. Now, Leon, can you give us some practical examples as to what you would do, say going to a country you haven't been to before, you're not familiar with the batteries?
Yeah, that's of course it. And that's the cool thing now with the SUP 4, so that the power management, it's much more improved now. So, and I tested it already in the field, and I tested the extra with 2 V-mount batteries with an Alexa 35 setup with any issues for 2 days. And we was also outside in the cold by -6 degrees, and everything works really good without any issues. And as you mentioned, so when we travel, we sometimes have to choose that or to use that what we have there. So, and in this case, it's really good to have a really working good battery management, and that's now there. But anyways, when you have a complicated multicam setup, or with a Venice 2 or Alexa, or with a whistling system and much of accessories, in this case, when you have not the possibility to go for a B-mount, go for a third battery. So that gives you more headspace and headroom for power.
So we might say if you're using V-mount or gold mount, make sure the batteries can supply at least 10 amps, if not 12 amps. And if you don't get the opportunity to use batteries that are that good, then if you put a third battery on a battery hanger, then you're basically just increasing the amount of power that the 3 batteries together can supply to the system.
Absolutely, yeah. That gives you more safety. So.
And there is a little display down the bottom.
Yes. And the display, you can always read on the display what does your system need on power and what you're delivering to the system. So you can always see, okay, I have maybe a terrible problem when the system needs 12 amps and I can just provide 10 amps. I know I have an issue, so maybe I need a third battery. So that's really good to read the display.
Cool, awesome, thanks.
In the last 2 to 3 years, we're starting to using the Trinity more and more in live broadcast and multicam setups, which also means that we start using more and more ENG lenses, really long ENG lenses. And for that, we need a kind of help. But you have something new in the software?
Of course, we have a new feature in the new software, which is called Zoom Sync. You can find this feature if you go into the lens or FIS setup. And here you have a new button on the right, which is called Zoom Sync. You switch it on and activate it for zoom. Now you see the settings for the tilt speed. Now the tilt is set to 30 degrees per second. And the ratio, which will reduce automatically the tilt speed as you zoom in, is now set to -81%, which will just reduce the tilt speed while you're zooming in.
Yes, I can show you now. So you see here, I zoom out, and when I'm tilting, that's my regular tilt speed. And while I'm tilting and zooming in now, you see that the tilt gets slower and slower. And when I zoom out, it gets faster. So that's really helpful. But it's important to know for this function, you have to connect when you have a cine-style lens, connect your L-bus motor directly over L-bus with the Trinity, or if you have an ENG lens, over a L-Cube adapter, L-Cube 2 adapter with the Trinity. A really cool feature that I really love, it's now when the first AC or second AC is working on the Trinity, or on the head especially, I'm able as an operator to adjust my settings. So Alex can show a little bit.
To do this, we implemented in the PID menu a new button, which is called Motor Off. You press and hold the button, and now you switch off all your motors in the same time. Now I'm still able to adjust my settings, angles and my pre-programmed movements while the AC is adding accessories, changing the lens, rebalancing the rig. If everything is done, the rig is rebalanced, I go back into my PID setup and switch back on the motors, and I'm ready to go.
That's really cool. I like it a lot.
Here you can see the Trinity 2 mounted to our PAN module. This allows us to use the Trinity as a remote head on any application like cranes, car cranes or dollies, everywhere where a remote head is needed. Also for this application we have new features in our new SUP 4.0. If we enter the PID menu, we now see we have a little current monitor and a position monitor, which shows us the actual needed current from each motor, also the camera position. In case my setup is out of balance, I just simulate this by pushing the camera straight forward. You can see that the motor current goes up. So now I know something is wrong with my balance. Also, both the position monitor as the current monitor can be used to indicate oscillations on the head if the head is mounted on a crane or on a cable cam and you don't have directly access to it. I simulate this by pushing the tilt. Now you can see in the monitor you have oscillations and you know you need to rebalance the head or you need to adjust your settings. For the remote head application as well, we implemented a feature, it's called manual drift correction. The manual drift correction allows you to adjust the drift in real time. The best way to do this, you just zoom in, and if you see a little drift, you can immediately turn any knob to adjust the drift, or you assign it to a specific knob, and then also in the home screen overview, if you turn the knob, you will see a little overlay popping, which shows you the actual adjusted value.
All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the video. If you'd like to download the new software, you can go to arri.com/sups. And if you need to reach out to service at any point, remember you can always go to arri.com/service to find your local service partner. Now, there are two people today who I need to give a huge amount of thanks to for making my job very easy in this tech talk. And the first one is Alex, representing FOMA Systems today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I also need to thank our customers, especially for giving us the high amount of feedback to making the software possible. Thank you.
And of course, thank you to Leon Moralic, our Trinity operator for today. We couldn't have done it without some practical demonstrations, so thank you.
It was my pleasure, and I personally will thank FOMA Systems for delivering this amazing SUP and the new firmware. And that's definitely a huge upgrade for our Trinities, and all of us operators will be really happy with that. So thank you, FOMA, and see you in the forum.
And if you have any questions at all, please throw them in the comments section down below as well. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye.